Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in the fun. Today I'll be teaching how to make a peplum top. This one is a peasanty peplum with a dash of bell for taste. It features a basket weave stitch for a more rustic vibe, and there's a baby bell for some added cuteness. Speaking of, if you're looking to make something cute, look no further. We have hundreds of the cutest modern crochet patterns with new patterns weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 750 grams of yarn, and that's 1,000 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite game show. Mine would have to be The Price is Right. Detail for the giveaway down below. We're using 4 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, and double crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're going to grab our 5mm hook and start off by making a chain the height that we'd like for our waistband to be. Now I'd like for mine to be about 2.5 inches or 3 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 8. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain, and into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch. So insert your hook when we have those 2 loops, yarn over, and gently pull through both loops. Let's do that again. In through that following chain, insert, gently yarn over, pull through both loops on our hook. Continue putting 1 slip stitch into every chain, remembering not to tug too tightly, otherwise the following row might be a little too tight to work into. We've put 1 slip stitch into every chain. We're now going to get started on our row 2, which is going to be a back loop slip stitch row. So chain 1, flip our work, and now put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So finding the last stitch from our previous row, insert into that back loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on our hook, and continue putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. We're now at the end of our row 2, so getting started on row 3. It's going to be more back loop slip stitch rows, so chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Continue to repeat this row, so a back loop slip stitch row with no increases and no decreases, until we have a waistband that can stretch around the widest part of our bust, and the amount of rows that we have needs to end in a multiple of 3. Now I'm going to make a total of 111 rows, and that is going to be roughly 17 inches or 43 centimeters unstretched. So just double check and make sure that you're stretching this as if you're wearing it while you're measuring this up to yourself. My waistband is all finished. Like I said, I need a total of 111 rows, and that is what I have right here. What I'm going to do next is seam everything together. So let's all start by placing our 2 corners together. We're going to insert our hook in through the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, yarn over, pull through everything, and then do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now from here, we're going to find that first stitch from the front panel, insert only in through that front loop, next stitch into the back panel, and insert only in through that back loop. When we have those 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. Again, inserting our hook into that following stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop, into the next stitch into the back panel, only into that back loop, and pull through everything on our hook. And continue this until we don't have any more stitches left. Now that we have finished our slip stitch seam, we're going to do a single crochet row along the edge. So chain 1 and find our first side slip stitch row, which this is mine right here, which is this divot. So I'm going to find that top loop and insert my hook into there with a single crochet. This is my following side row. I'm going to find that top loop and insert into there with another single crochet. Let's do that again. My following side row is this divot. I'm going to insert into that top loop with one single crochet. Then finding my following side row, which is this raised row, insert into there with another single crochet. Continue putting one single crochet into every side row, and we should have the same amount of single crochets as side rows that we have. I'll meet you back when we have made our way all the way around. And when the single crochet row is finished, make sure you try it on. The single crochet row will be how wide it can stretch, so if it's a little too tight, redo some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, redo some stitches with a tighter grip. We've made our way all the way around with our single crochet row. Now we need to close off this row. So let's all start by finding that chain 1 that we made when we started off this row. We're going to insert our hook in through there with a slip stitch. Now our following row is going to be a half double crochet row. That's going to be our row 1 for our basket weave section. This single crochet row is just our prep row. We're all going to start with a chain 2 and just put one half double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, find the first stitch from our previous row, insert your hook in through there, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on our hook. Let's do this once more. Yarn over, find that next stitch, insert your hook, pull through, and pull through all 3. Continue putting one half double crochet into every stitch, and we should have the same amount of half double crochets as single crochets that we did for our previous row. We've made our way around with our half double crochet row, so now let's close it off. We're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started off this row. So together we're going to count up 1, count up 2, and then into that second chain, yarn over, pull through everything, and now our row 1 is complete. So let's get started on our row 2. That's going to be our first basket weave row, so let's chain 2 and flip our work. Our basket weave detail is going to be worked in sets of 3 front post double crochets and then 3 back post double crochets. So let's get that started. Starting with the yarn over, we're going to find the first half double crochet from our previous row, making sure that we aren't counting that chain 2. Next, we're going to insert our hook underneath the body of that half double crochet, and we're going to bring our hook through the other side. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through. When we have those 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. Let's do that again. Yarn over. Underneath the body of that following half double crochet, insert your hook and bring it through the other side and pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, and once more, yarn over. Underneath that following half double, bring your hook underneath, through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now those are our first 3 front post double crochets. Now let's do our 3 back post double crochets. Yarn over once, and now bring our hook underneath our work and then over that following half double crochet. So bring it in through that following gap and over that half double crochet body and through the other side. And pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2 again. Once more, yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work, finding that next available half double crochet, bring our hook in through that gap, over the body of that half double crochet, and through the other side. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and we'll do one more, so yarn over. Bring our hook underneath our work, in through that following gap, and over that half double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now altogether we should have 3 front post double crochets and 3 back post double crochets. And we're going to continue this till we reach the end of the row, so let's just do another set together. Yarn over, And getting started on our following set, that's going to be 3 front post double crochets. So finding that next available half double crochet, bring our hook underneath the body of that stitch and through the other side, pull through 2, 2, and we're going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over, underneath the body, pull through 2, pull through 2, and once more, yarn over, underneath the body, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now we have 3 back post double crochets to do. So yarn over again. Bring our hook underneath our work, and now over the body of that following half double crochet, through the other side, pull through 2 and 2, and 2 more times, yarn over, underneath our work, over the body, through the other side, pull through 2, 2, and once more, yarn over that half double, through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2. Altogether, we should have 3 front post doubles, 3 back post, 3 front post, and 3 back post. Continue this to reach the end of the row. We've made our way around with our row 2, or our first basket weave row, and now we're going to close this row off. So just like our previous row, we're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started off this row. So let's count up 1, count up 2. Into that stitch, yarn over, pull through everything, and now let's chain 2 and flip our work. Now for every odd number row, it's going to be an extension of our previous row's stitches. So to get the first few stitches started, it may be a little bit different for everyone. So since my first 3 sets of stitches look like 3 back post double crochets, I'm now going to do 3 back post double crochets. But if yours look like 3 front post, go ahead and do your 3 front post. All I'm going to do is yarn over and do 3 back posts for mine. There's my first, there is my second, and there is my third. Now my following set looks like 3 front posts, so I will be doing 3 front posts. But if your following sets look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 back posts. So we're just extending our previous row's stitches. And that is that for our row 3. We're going to continue to extend our previous row stitches, making our way all the way around. When we reach the end of the row, slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started this row, and then chain 2 and flip our work. Now when it comes to doing our even number rows, we're now going to be doing the opposite from what our previous row looks like. So getting started on our row 4, since my first set looks like 3 front posts, I will now be doing 3 back posts. So here is my first back post double crochet. Here's my second, and here's my third. Now if your 3 stitches look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 front posts, and then that's going to be the same for the next set of stitches as well. So since my next 3 stitches look like 3 back posts, I will now be doing 3 front posts. And if yours look like 3 front posts, you will be doing 3 back posts, and that's it. Continue to do the opposite from what our previous row's stitches look like, and I'll meet you back at the end of this row, right after we slip stitch into that second chain. Our first 4 rows for our basket weave detail is all finished up. Now let's get started on our row 5. So after we have slip stitched into that second chain, chain 2 and flip your work. Now like I said in one of our previous clips, each of our odd number rows is going to be an extension of our previous row stitches. So for me, my first 3 stitches look like 3 front post double crochets, so I will be doing 3 front post double crochets to extend it. But if yours look like 3 back posts, you will be doing 3 back posts. And now that I have my first 3 stitches, just to do the next 3, they look like 3 back posts, so I will be now doing 3 back posts. But again, if yours look like 3 front posts, you'll be doing 3 front posts. And that is it. Continue to extend our previous row stitches, making our way all the way around, and then slip stitch into our second chain. Alright, our rows 1 through 5 for our basket weave detail is all finished. We're now going to repeat rows 2 through 5 until we get the length of the top portion that we need. So placing this waistband right underneath our bust and making sure that this works all the way up till we reach our underarm. So if you need timestamps on any of the rows that we are going to repeat, so 2 through 5, those will be linked in the description. But I will meet you back when we have this top portion all finished up. I am back with my basket weave detail. I have a total of 17 rows, and this height is 5 inches or 12 centimeters, or my total height is 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to start working on the top band, but we're going to need to make the armholes as well. We're going to try this on placing the working yarn so the middle of our piece mid-chest. So what we're going to do is insert our stitch markers where the corner of the front of our underarm is, and along the back of the corner of our underarm as well. And we want to make sure that we have stitches in multiples of 3 from stitch marker to stitch marker. And we also want to make sure that from our back stitch marker across our back and from the front stitch marker working across our front, we have the same amount of stitches, if not off by 1 or 2, depending on if you have an odd number of stitches or not. So I will let you guys know my numbers. Counting from my working yarn, I've inserted my first stitch marker into the 22nd stitch along both sides, and then from there, a total of 35 stitches, still counting from my working yarn as well. And I have a total of 12 stitches in between my stitch markers. And the amount of stitches that I have within the front and within the back are very similar, they're just off by 1. But once we have that, we're now ready to get started on the top band. So from where we're at, we're going to make a chain the height that we'd like for our top band to be. I'd like for mine to be about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 5. Now that we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain, do a chain 1. Into that chain that we blocked off with the second chain from our hook, insert with a slip stitch, remembering not to tug too tightly, and put 1 slip stitch into every chain. Now that we've put 1 slip stitch into every chain, we need to connect it into the base. So finding that next available stitch into the base, insert your hook into that stitch with a slip stitch to close off our row 1. That doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to connect. And then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that following stitch into the base. That still doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to work our way up, and flip our work. And then from here, put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Now at the end of the row, chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and I'll meet you back at the base once more. And now that we're back at the base, we're going to connect it. So finding that next stitch into the base, insert your hook in through there with a slip stitch. And then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next stitch into the base, flip our work, and then repeat. So put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. We're going to continue to repeat our back loop slip stitch row with no increases and no decreases until we reach our first stitch marker stitch that we have, making sure that we're working into that stitch, and then I will meet you back. So I've made my way to my stitch marker with my back loop slip stitch rows. From here, we're going to work off of our piece, but still doing our back loop slip stitch rows to create a band that can now fit around our shoulders. Now that band, just counting from the row that we're about to start, needs to end in multiples of 3, so I have already measured mine out. I'm going to do a total of 33 rows. So to get that started, we're going to chain 1 and flip our work, and no matter where we're at, we're going to be putting 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And now that we have our first back loop slip stitch row, we are not going to connect it. We're going to chain 1, flip our work, and then repeat until we have a band that can stretch around our shoulder and touch the front of our underarm. I'll meet you back when we have that all finished up. Alright, so now that we have our shoulder band, we are going to connect it into the base. Now, since I'm along the bottom, I'm a little bit lucky. It's going to be easier for me to do, so we'll connect that right now. But if you guys ended along the top, just wait till the next clip and then I'll show you guys what to do from there. Counting from our first row that we did that wasn't connected, I had a total of 27 rows, and this width is 4.5 inches or 11 centimeters unstretched. And now we're going to connect it into this other stitch marker that we have and then work across the front. We're going to insert our hook into that stitch marker stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then from here we're going to flip our work and then do our first attached back loop slip stitch row. So go ahead and flip your work, and everything from here is going to be per usual. So put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain one, flip our work, and then put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch again, connecting it into the base the same way that we have been doing. And now for those of you who ended along the top, let's do that one together. So for those of you that have the strap and you end along the top, what you're going to do is chain one, flip our work, and get started on our following row, because we want to end along the bottom as well, but we're doing it this way so that we don't get an extra row for our strap. So now that we're along the bottom, we're going to slip stitch it into that following stitch into the base to connect this row, and then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next stitch, flip our work, and then one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. And from here, we're going to continue this all the way around. So back loop slip stitch rows till our next stitch marker stitch, make the same amount of rows for our shoulder band, connect it, and then continue that until we don't have any more stitches left. So I've made my way all the way around with my back loop slip stitch rows. I don't have any more stitches left to work into, so now we're going to seam it all together with an outside loop slip stitch seam. Now this is going to be the same seam as our waistband, so making sure that our work is slipped right side out and right side up, we're going to insert our hook into the bottom stitch of the front panel, inserting only in through that front loop, into the bottom stitch of the back panel, inserting only in through that back loop, yarn over, and pull through all three. And we're going to continue doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into, and then do a chain up of one and cut. So now that our top band is finished, we're going to get started on the peplum. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is slipped right side out, right side up, and then we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows that we have along the bottom of our piece. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of one to secure, and now we're going to do a single crochet row. So it's going to be one single crochet into every side row. We should have the same amount of single crochets as side rows that we made, so let's just get the first one started. We're going to find that first side row, which is this divot for me. If yours is a raised row, that's fine as well. Just insert your hook in through there. And if you would like to weave in your tail ends as you go, just place your tail end over your hook and single crochet around everything. There's my first single crochet. Let's do the next. My next side row is this raised row right here. I'm going to find that top loop, insert my hook into there with a single crochet. And I will be making my way all the way around, putting one single crochet into every side row and then slip stitch into that chain space. Our single crochet row along the bottom is finished. We're now going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our peplum portion to be, so we can make this short, long, or a dress if you'd like to. I'd like for mine to stop at about my hip, so I'm going to make a chain that is 10 inches or 25 centimeters, and that is going to be a chain 40. Now that we have our chain, we're going to do our first half double crochet row. So block off that last chain and do a chain 2. Into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a half double crochet. So insert, pull through 3, and continue putting one half double crochet into every chain. Now that we've put one half double crochet into every chain, we're going to slip stitch it into the base. So find that next stitch into the base, insert your hook in through there with a slip stitch to close our row 1. Then to work our way up to the following row, we're going to find that next available stitch into the base, insert your hook in through there, and flip your work. From here, we're going to be putting one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. So find the last stitch from our previous row, insert into that back loop with a half double crochet, and continue putting one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and then put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch again, and I'll meet you back at the base. So all together, we should have 1, 2, 3 rows finished up, and we're going to connect it into the base. Now to get the peplum flare that we want, when we're connecting each of our odd number rows into the base, We're now going to be inserting our hook into the same stitch that our previous row is worked out of. So as you guys can see, this is that stitch for me. It is occupied. It's going to feel funny, but go ahead and insert your hook in through there with a slip stitch to connect that row. And then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch into that next available stitch into the base, flip our work, and continue to put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, and then repeat, making our way all the way down, making sure that we're connecting it into the base the same way that we just did. I'll meet you back when we have made our way all the way around so that we can seam it all together. Alright, so I've just made my way all the way around with my peplum. I don't have any more stitches left to work into, so now we're going to do a single crochet seam. So first things first, let's make sure that our work is flipped wrong side out. Next, we're going to insert our hook in through both the corner of the front and the back panel, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now, to do the first single crochet seam, we're going to find that first stitch into the front panel and insert only in through that front loop. Find the next stitch into the back panel, insert into that back loop, and single crochet. Again, next stitch into the front panel, insert, next stitch into the back panel, insert, and single crochet. And we're going to keep doing this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. When we don't, do a chain up of 1 and cut. So now that our peplum is seamed up, we're going to get started on our sleeve. So first things first, we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, and then we're going to be inserting our hook into that stitch marker stitch that we have along the top. Or it could also just be the last stitch that we have along the body because we're going to single crochet along the entirety of our armhole. We are going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. And we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet into every side slip stitch row and then 1 single crochet into every stitch. So let's do the first side slip stitch rows together. So we're going to start by finding this first side slip stitch row. Mine is this divot. I'm going to insert my hook in through that top loop. And if you'd like to weave in your tail ends at the same time, place that over your hook and then we're going to single crochet. Let's do this again. Into my next side row, which is this raised row right here, find that top loop, insert your hook, and then single crochet. And continue putting 1 single crochet into every side row, and then 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then slip stitch into that chain space. Now that our single crochet prep row for our sleeve is finished, we're now going to do the same row sequence for our basket weave detail. So our row 2 is going to be a half double crochet row. Right after we slip stitch into that chain space, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, and then put 1 half double crochet into every stitch. Slip stitch into that second chain that we made, and then I'll meet you back just to talk you guys through how we're going to do our basket weave again. Our half double crochet row is finished, and now we're going to repeat these same stitches that we did for the body, for the length of our sleeve until we reach our elbow. So just to get this first one started, we're going to chain 2 and flip our work. Now getting started on our row 2 or our first basket weave row, remembering that that first single crochet row that we did doesn't count as a row, that was just our prep row. We're going to do the same sets, so 3 front posts and 3 back posts. So insert your hook in through that first, underneath that second, and underneath that third, with 1 front post double crochet into each for a total of 3. And then underneath that following, for my first, for my second, and then for now my third, back post double crochet. So we should have 2 sets so far, 3 front post and 3 back post doubles. We're going to continue to repeat this, making our way all the way around. Slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started off this row, chain 2, and flip our work. From there, we'll be getting started on our row 3, which, if we remember from our body portion, every odd number row is just going to be an extension of what our previous rows look like. So if our rows look like front post double crochets, we'll be doing front post, or if it looks like back post, you'll be doing back post.
And then after that, our row 4 or any even number row is just going to be the opposite from what our previous row looked like to get the right texture that we want. And we're going to continue to do this until this reaches our elbow. And we want to make sure that we meet back right after an odd number row. The length of my sleeve is all finished up. I have a total of 23 rows and it's a total of 7 inches or 18 centimeters. Now we're going to start working on our bell sleeve. So let's all start with a chain 2 and flip our work. Now we're going to need to do some increases, so let's get the first one started. Our stitches are still going to be the opposite from what our previous row looks like. So as an example, my first 3 stitches look like 3 back post double crochets. We're now going to be doing 3 front post double crochets, but starting with an increase of 2, so we'll have 1 extra stitch for every set. So yarn over, find that first stitch, and insert with my front post double crochet. If you're first doing 3 back post double crochet, that's completely fine as well. But once we have our first one done, we're going to be inserting 1 more post stitch into that same stitch. So yarn over, and into that same stitch that I just inserted my first front post double crochet into, I'm going to insert it in through there again with a second, and then continue on per usual. So into my second with another front post for me, and then into that following with another front post. So all together, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Now getting started on my following set of stitches, these look like 3 front posts, so I will now be doing 3 back posts while still maintaining that increase. So yarn over. To do our back post, we're still going to bring our hook underneath our work, over that following stitch, pull through, and then pull through 2, and then another back post double crochet into that same stitch for our increase. So yarn over, bring your hook underneath through the other side of that same stitch and pull through. And a quick tip, when we're doing the back post, you may need to pull your work apart a little bit just to make sure that the loops aren't coming off of our hook, but it is still possible. So we now have 2 back post double crochets. So I will be doing my following, which is another back post and then another back post, just like that. So all together, we should have 4 front post double crochets and 4 back post double crochets. We're going to continue this, making our way all the way around, and then slip stitch into that second chain. We have made our way all the way around with our first increase row for our bell sleeve, and we're going to get started on the following row now. We're going to be doing the same types of increases into every row, and the same rules still apply for the basket weave stitch. So every odd number row is going to be an extension of our previous row stitches. So since we're getting started on an odd number row, since my first set of stitches looks like front post, I will be doing front post double crochets, but with an increase into that first stitch as well. So all together, after we do a chain 2, we're going to yarn over into that first stitch, insert with a front post double crochet, and then into that same first stitch with another front post double crochet, and then 1 front post double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And now for this set, we have a total of 5 stitches. We're going to do the same thing for the next set, so let's just do this together. They look like 3 back posts for me, so I'm going to find that first stitch and do my first back post, and do an increase into there again, and then 3 back post double crochets for the remainder of this stitch. And that's pretty much it for the increase. We're just going to continue to repeat our basket weave stitch, but now just doing an extra stitch into every set. And we're going to continue this until we get the length of the sleeve that we want. And then I will meet you back right after we do a chain up of 1 and cut. I am back and my bell sleeve detail is all finished up. I just wanted a 3/4 length sleeve, so I did a total of 35 rows and then I did a chain up of 1 and cut. When I had that done, I did the same thing on the other side, and then I'll meet you back so we can get started on our straps. So now that both of our sleeves are all finished, the last one we're going to have to do is our straps. So first things first, we're going to need to find our middle stitch within our shoulder band. For those of you that have my numbers, we have an odd number of rows, and my middle stitch is my 71st row from my seam within the back.
But for those of you who have an even number of rows, you will have 2 middle stitches, but that's completely fine as well.
Now right after that, we're going to be inserting our stitch markers right where we want our straps to be. This can be a little bit different for everyone, but I want mine to be just about mid-shoulder. So from my middle stitch, and it will be the same within the back too, we're going to start counting from the seam. I inserted my first stitch marker into the 10th side row, and then my second stitch marker into the 6th side row away from that first stitch marker that we inserted, making that strap that I have roughly about 1.5 inches. I did the same thing on the other side of our middle stitch, and then along the back as well. Once we have that, we can now make our slip stitch strap the length that we need. So start by inserting your hook into one of our strap side rows. I will now insert my yarn onto my hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and now working towards my following stitch marker, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So since we already know how to do this, let's just do the first one. Find that following side row. For me, it's this raised row. Insert in through there with a single crochet, and continue putting 1 single crochet into every side row. So my first single crochet row for my strap is finished, and now the following rows are just going to be back loop slip stitch rows. So chain 1, flip our work, and then put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. We're going to continue on with that row with no increases and no decreases until the strap that we have can stretch up to mid-shoulder. When we have that, do a chain up of 1 and cut, and then we're going to repeat the same thing along the back. But when we have the back finished, do not do a chain up of 1 and cut so that we can easily seam it all together. I am back and I've just finished up one side of my strap. I have a total of 25 rows, that is including our first single crochet row, and that is 4 inches or 10 centimeters unstretched. Now from here, we're going to be doing the same thing along the back, and I have already got mine finished up, so now we can seam it together. So start by inserting your hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. And now we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam, so we're going to pull our work through, do a chain up of 1 to secure, and to do the first one together, since we already know how to do this, we're going to find the first stitch within the front panel, insert only into that front loop, find the next stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop, and pull through all 3 of those loops. And that's it. Continue this until we don't have any more stitches left, and then repeat on the other side. And now that both of our straps are finished, we are all done. Last thing we're going to have to do is take out all of our stitch markers and then weave in all of our ends.
And there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will catch you on the next one. Bye!